So I've been seeing the comments on some previous videos, people requesting me to comment on the what is called the Safety Act. That's SAFE-T. That is becoming a campaign issue now in Illinois, and this is something that's going to affect the entire state, not just the city of Chicago. And so what does this act exactly do? So what this stands for, the Safety Act, is the Safety, Accountability, Fairness, and Equity Today Act. It was signed into law by Governor J.B. Pritzker in 2021. And what this law does, and this is according to WTTW Chicago, shout out them, it aims to do away with cash bail, okay, in an effort to end systemic racism in the criminal justice system. And that, really, technically it's classism, but a lot of times the class issue breaks down along racial lines, and so a lot of times those two get equated. But we're talking about economic disparities that can result in some people being incarcerated, while other people who are, charged with the same crime get to go free because they had more money to bail out. So critics of the law say that it will allow violent offenders to walk the streets. So this subject has exploded in recent days as 2022 election campaign, as this heats up with viral social media videos and deceptive campaign mailers making all kinds of claims about the 700-page bill. So it's a 700-page bill. And how many of us have actually read those 700 pages? I'm not even reading one of those pages, I gotta be honest with you. I just read the breakdowns of it. Some states' attorneys and sheriffs are sounding the alarm, and this is according to Fox News, about Illinois' plan to end cash bail. They say judges will have discretion to, in certain cases, like armed robbery is a case that is detainable. But for other offenses, second-degree murder, kidnapping, hate crimes, aggravated batteries, robberies, just to name a few, judges will not have discretion unless the person is a willful risk of imminent flight. So their risk to the public and their risk to commit a future crime will not be a criteria, according to the DuPage County State's Attorney, Robert Berlin. And DuPage County is for those of you guys who don't know, that's a suburb. That's a county to the west of Cook County, which is the county where Chicago is located. So some state officials are saying that it's going to make crime worse. The new law that goes into effect on January 1st, 2023 gets rid of cash bail entirely. It also limits who can be arrested and held in jail based on the crime they are alleged to have committed. So many members of the law enforcement community are working to have the current law amended. So Berlin said, "I'm very concerned about an increase in violent crime, but again, I do want to stress there is still time to fix it, and the state's attorneys are working very hard, as we have been for the past year and a half, to fix this law." He said it's very fixable, where we can still eliminate cash bail, but make sure that the right people are in custody and everybody else who's not a danger gets out. So they don't want to crowd the jails too much. They don't want to have guys in there that, are nonviolent and not a risk of flight and not a threat to the public. And that's something I totally agree with. People were asking my opinion about it. This is something that it's not going to be a total positive or negative. It's going to depend on the particular case. There's going to be some situations where there's going to be guys getting out that shouldn't. And there's going to be other cases where there's going to be guys getting out who would have had to stay in there that shouldn't have been in there. So it's going to be a plus and minus. It's not one of those either or situations, I think, man. But for the city of Chicago in particular, I think it's going to cause a problem. I think it's going to be a net negative. Now, that's just my personal prediction based on what's going on here now and the way that a lot of times guys that have huge street reputations are taken off the street when they can't get them on the big stuff that the police know that they're doing because they don't have enough evidence. Like, they got to do their investigation. You guys got to remember, a lot of times people see, these guys on social media bragging about murders and songs bragging about murders, and they say, why don't the police just book these guys? Because that's not evidence. You can't use song lyrics to book a guy. That's not a confession, okay? I mean, it might be a confession, in our eyes, but legally they can't use that. So they've got to get concrete physical evidence. They got to do their investigation. And they may know a guy's street reputation, but if they don't have that, there's nothing they can do. Now, what they can do is they can harass the guy until they nail him on a gun charge or something like that. Most killers in Chicago, probably they're carrying guns with them everywhere they go. So if they, just find some reason, he's got a cracked windshield or he's got tinted windows or he made a wrong left turn or something like that, they can pull the guy over. He's going to have it on him. now they got him on a gun charge, and they can at least get him off the street out of harm's way, and in a place where he's not going to harm others, at least not with a gun, for a few years maybe. And they keep doing that, and they can get him to an age where he's going to fall off with all the gangbanging stuff, and they might save a few lives like that. Now, you might be skeptical about that, but you got to remember, we don't know what would have happened if a lot of guys who are currently incarcerated had been on the street, right? There's no way to know who would have died. So we do know, though, that when things have gone mayhem, like during the 2020 George Floyd riots and stuff like that, and the police just kind of stood down and stopped getting anybody off the street, even for a brief period, the murder rate just absolutely explodes. So, the guys have said, I've had guys tell me straight up, like former street guys, like, if we know that it's not going to be coming down on us, like, we're going to town, like we're going to go and do our thing, period. And these are guys who, like, they're in that life, or they were in that life, but they had to admit what it is, like, if the consequence is not going to be there, and they're talking about an immediate consequence, streets are going to go nuts. So we'll see what happens, man. But if they're letting guys out for gun charges, that's going to put a lot of killers back on the street, who otherwise would have been out of harm's way. Now, Pritzker also spoke about this, and he said, let's just set the record straight. The Safety Act is designed to keep murderers and domestic abusers, violent criminals in jail. So that's what he said. But I'm not sure if he's counting the fact that a lot of guys who are not charged with a murder are still murderers, that the police know are murderers, but that they can't get them on. Like, that's the thing here, man. So on Tuesday, the Republican candidate for governor, Darren Bailey, said Chicago is living, quote, the purge, when criminals ravage at will and the cops are told to stand down. So the Safety Act will make Illinois the first state to eliminate cash bail, allowing some alleged criminals to be released on a promise to appear in court. So the governor said the goal is to address the economic disparities of the criminal justice system. He said, making sure that we're also addressing the problem of a single mother who shoplifted diapers for her baby, who was put in jail and kept there for 6 months because she doesn't have a couple of $100s to pay for bail. So that's what the Safety Act is all about. Are there changes, adjustments that need to be? Of course. And there have been adjustments, he said, and there will continue to be. Laws are not immutable. So he's admitting that this thing is going to change, and some parts of it need to change. So the Safety Act will take effect on January 1st, like I said, and the new laws says that when a suspect is accused, the court will hold a hearing and may keep them behind bars if they are charged with a forcible felony, including second-degree murder. But to be honest with you, it's kind of ambiguous, because they're saying that the judge is not going to have discretion in all cases. And to me, I think that judges should have that discretion, because even though some judges here have been extraordinarily lenient, still there are certain cases where there's a guy coming up with like a huge name in the streets. Guys are dissing him, sending him death threats. He's sending other people death threats. If this guy gets locked up on anything, you got to hold that guy. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Your boy Winnie C. Report. I'm out.